absolutely. People need to get called out for, egregious actions.
Not people. Let's
Uh,
focus on like our
no, 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 no,
generation
no,
and
no,
our
no,
parents,
no,
the people
no,
who
no, no,
raised
no, no.
us.
Let me finish what I'm about to say.
I'm listening.
People need to get caught on egregious actions. All right. Yeah, go ahead and put them on blast. That's we have certain things for, depending on what, the level of which things are. But be mindful of those things. So once you grow from your parents, now we're gonna look at the family dynamic. All right. Your parents' job is to raise you to be successful on your own. That's their job. Make sure you have food, shelter, and some decency and some skills that you can survive on your own. You can go out there and make it on your own, however you're supposed to do it. Okay. This is that word, all right, that people don't be listening for and they don't say it no more. But you gotta cleave. That's when you cut your ties with your family and you start making your own way. You cleave to your spouse. You cleave to yourself. You cleave to the life you want. You cut them off because they're no longer in charge of raising you. And if you're looking for them to raise you still as an adult, you tripping. They did their job. You made it to 18. Hooray for them. That's why when you graduate high school, they've done their job. Everybody shows up. How many people show up when you graduate from college? It's a handful of people. But everybody show up when you graduate from high school. You know, it's a celebration. You're supposed to graduate from high school. No, you don't need a car when you're 16. Oh, you turn 16. You should survive till you're 16 years old. That's something that should happen. But now we're talking about being in the, you make it to your graduation from high school. You're an adult at that point. Those are the first stages of being an adult. Now you have to come into that world of self-discovery. Your parents have gotten you up into that place, and they look forward to sending you out into the world, and they give you the best. They give you the best they can as far as how to view things and ideology based on how they were brought up. Also, with a mixture of what they're going through in that moment of you growing up. They prepare you that way. You had multiple siblings. You had to be babysitter. You had to be mom growing up
Mm-mm, mm-mm,
when they weren't available.
mm-mm.
Oh, all right, not you, but some
I will say
others
that
may
I'm
have.
very grateful, even
Others
though
may
I
have.
am the oldest girl, is five girls.
Mhm.
No, I am very grateful. No, growing up to
You
this
didn't
day,
have to
I
be
don't know how to do
babysitter.
hair. I didn't cook dinner. I didn't babysit my sisters. I didn't do laundry. We eventually had chores, but like I was not responsible. No, my parents, I always say that because I do
Mhm.
understand that dynamic exists a lot. But my parents allowed me to be a child. I'm
Mhm.
very grateful for that part.
Well, well, that and that's a blessing.
Yes.
Yes, but again, everybody don't get that, you know.
No.
So
So I
those
do realize that, and
dynamics.
that's my whole point is I
But
I
again,
love my family so deeply.
mhm,
So it's not, and I understand what you're saying when you cleave to someone else or something else. That is life. You're supposed to grow. And detachment isn't saying like I don't fuck with you at all on any level. I have to find my own
no.
path. I get that. But I'm just saying for so many people, as you're forging that new path, as you're understanding that the system in which I grew up under, I'm not able to function in that way. So yes, my parents did the best they can. They taught us these things. They function to this day. We're not talking
Mhm.
about what happened. We're not talking about the past. They still who they are. And they function the same way in the adult sibling dynamics. Like they get in the middle of and as adults, we're saying, no, remove yourself. Let us
Mhm.
as adults figure out how we go
Yes, but
interact with each other.
keep
And they
this.
insist on inserting themselves. So it's just
But
like, now I'm probably like, so I have a problem with your system. And I'm not saying I want to dismantle your system. I said,
mhm,
respect that I'm over here building my own. Just respect this, leave it alone. And
mhm.
they're coming in and it's like, no, you're problematic in our full organization because you buck in the system. You're not, no, you're supposed to operate in the system. And now you the problem. And I'm gonna ostracize you and make it known to everybody else. See, and that's, I think a lot of that comes with it when you start being exposed. and people start trying to make you look like the problematic one. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I gotta get on the microphone. Hold on, like
No, you don't.
no, I think that's what
Because
the
you
thought
should
pattern
have
people
cleaved.
I think
The
when you feel
job.
attacked on any level, your first
Hmm.
reaction is to be defensive. And what I'm
Hmm.
saying is this is not a me versus you. We're not trying
Hmm.
to create a new takeover, absurd an empire. I'm just saying like I want peace. I want happiness. And the way it looks for me may not look the same way for you, but because
Hmm.
I care, because I like I don't know. It's hard to articulate, but my parents are not bad parents. But
No.
were some of the dynamics in which we function, were they not healthy? Did they lead to some? And they did the best they could, especially with those many personalities. They did the
Hmm.
absolute best they could, but trying their best and trying to placate, I don't think they realized like this is the monsters. These are the monsters you created. And you're
Well,
still puppeteering it. And we're just saying, like, just recognize that um, you are Frankenstein. You're Frankenstein, and you won't admit it. You want to act like you're the monster. No, you're
you
Frankenstein.
no. You have to understand. Even Frankenstein, the monster that was created, cleaved himself.
So the reason I asked you the question, when is it okay to expose someone? I'm not going to tell someone how to operate, what to do. For me, I'm not going to expose anyone
It's what
publicly.
all right. So then let me go ahead and respond to that. When is it okay to respond to someone based is to expose someone
Publicly.
publicly? What is it that you're exposing? What is your motivation behind it?
Well, that's
Because if
why I
it's
don't,
because you're
because I think the more you try to, I think people just want their side of the story told. They want to be heard and understood. But for me, the more which we're going to talk about that soon, but I've learned the power of not speaking sometimes. I let things play out because I've learned through experience. I didn't know this at first, but eventually everyone can see the situation for what it is. They can see the truth, or they can see me for who
Mhm.
I am. And then
Right,
once you
but
know who I am, I don't need to defend against anyone who's speaking ill of my character. My character speaks for itself. My reputation
mhm,
precedes me. So, like, that
mhm.
is the power. And then if I dare respond, I'm acting out of character. And now I start to look like everything that I'm trying to expose. So, for me, and because if I'm not invested, if you're not somebody that I care to remain in a relationship with, I just cut the tie and that's it. If you're someone I care to remain in a relationship with, I don't think that exposing you publicly is going to get the response that I need for us to move forward. So that's the reason I won't do it, because it just puts you on the defense
But
instead of being
again,
open.
what is it that you're exposing?
For
Because
me, it would be trying to,
one thing is if you are an actual victim of something
well,
egregiously specific. All right, that's one thing.
mhm.
Yes, that makes sense. Absolutely, because you're trying to protect others from falling victim to that. But if you're just exposing because something didn't go your way or you're upset, it's just knee jerk reaction on emotion because some things didn't work out the way you wanted it to, or you want to create a narrative so you don't look a specific way.
Mm.
Then that's that BS right there. That's that type of exposure. That's why I say, what is it you're exposing? That's why I use the example like a Bernie made. I was like, well, how do you expose your parents for doing the best they could?
But I think it's a cry of hurt. I think in
Yeah, but
hindsight, once you get to a better place,
okay,
you can
so
realize that's not the most conducive way. But I think a lot of people, because again, our
we need to
society
stop
has
living on
shifted.
hindsight. Look, we gotta stop living on hindsight. I'm so tired of living on hindsight. We at this point, when you're an adult, hindsight,
Once you
no, you
get
need
foresight,
foresight.
you can operate. But before you get to that place, no, you can't operate in it. before you get to that place, you are only looking back. Once you grow past something, you can look back and say, okay, now I get it. But once when you're in the middle of it without the tools and resources, no, it is not easy to have
Again,
foresight
the
into
one
something.
now let's look hindsight and apply it to the now. For anybody out there who has children now, start teaching them these things now, so when they get older,
But
they
also,
become
I think it's
adults.
a
They're
lot of
not
elements.
doing
Like I said, our
these things.
society has shifted quicker than we can keep up. So I used to keep a
Whose
journal
fault is
back in the
that?
day. But
Whose
but
fault is that?
our but listen.
It's our
I used to,
fault.
but listen, I used to
We
keep a journal
created
back in
this
the day.
society.
People don't
Uh-huh.
journal. Like this is our society. This is how you tap in. People, it says when you log in, what are you feeling? Like we have been prompted. So whether you like it or not, and again, that's a generational divide. I'm talking about the reality, the reason that it's out there and is being exposed publicly because we live our lives publicly. Like now, maybe not you, Corey
Mhm.
D, but as a society, we live out loud. Everything is open for everybody. We're all open books, and a lot of people are just crying for some
Okay,
connection. Like
so
when you have to
it looks.
detach from your
Mhm.
world, everything that you thought was right and good and sound, and you're realizing no, it's flawed. I think even that realization is a real process for people to say, wait a minute, that wasn't right. Like something is wrong
Okay.
there.
So what do they do about it?
I think at first, I think that's why you see the exposure. I think first it's like cry for help or begging, like please, like you almost revert like a little kid, and you're like begging your parents to give you the attention, the love, the acknowledgement that you need, and then when you don't get it, I think that's when people are like going and acting out. I think that exposure is a form of acting out. I'm hurt. No, but the person who hurt me won't acknowledge the hurt that they caused to me. Not
All
saying
right,
it's right
now
and healthy and
they
good,
may
but I'm
not
saying
even
what is.
now, and it's not to defend them, it's just to shed a
Yeah,
little light. They may not even realize that they've done it
they
because
usually
they're not
don't.
they're not. But again, nobody is walking around operating under the lens of let me, or the ones that do don't get very far. If they're walking around under the lens of let me not hurt somebody and let me put my needs to the side so everybody else is feeling good, they're looking at what they need in that particular moment at that particular time. All right. There's a story I always I always think back on. There was this little bird, okay? And when all the other little birds flew south for the winter, this little bird was like, man, I'm not going nowhere. I'll catch up with y'all later. I'm going to hang out just a few more weeks longer. The food is plentiful, blah, blah. And all the other birds left him. So this little bird, when the weather changed on the food wasn't so plentiful and it was cold, the little bird was like, shoot, let me get the hell up out of here. So this little bird takes flight. Now it's freezing cold. He's flying through freezing rain and stuff. His wings freeze down and he crashes into a cow pasture. And he's on the ground and he's shivering and he's hurting and, he's cold and can't function. And his mind is, you know what, I just can't go no more. I can't. And a cow walks over because he's in a cow pasture. The cow just mind his business grazing, eating the grass, and took a big old hot stinky shit and then right on top of him. Boom, right on top of him. And the little bird, he's in the middle of the shit, and he's like, God damn it, motherfucker, you done shit on me. And he's flipping out and he's losing his mind. All right. And the cow looks back and is just like, oh, I'm sorry, my bad. And then he keeps it moving. Didn't see you there. Kept it moving. So the little birdie, he's covered in shit. He's like, oh my goodness, all is good. Oh, then he started to say, you know what? This shit ain't bad. Actually, this shit's kind of warm. It got me warm. Let me move around a little bit more. And he's shaking it and he's doing his thing to get himself loosened up. And then what does the little birdie do? He starts singing while he's in the shit, singing about it. So then, as he's singing in the shit, the cat walks up. Because on every farm there's a damn cat. So the cat walks up and he's looking at him like, little birdie, what you doing? Little birdie's singing the song, man. I needed to warm up. My wings was cold. I'm trying to fly south. Now I just got to shake the shit off me and I'm good to go. And the little cat says, well, let me help you out there. So the cat, pulls him up out the shit, dusts him off real nice. He's like, oh, thank you, Mr. Cat. So the cat says, no problem. As soon as the cat got him nice and cleaned up, said, you good to go? He said, yes, I'm good to go. Cat ate his ass. Moral of the story, everybody that shits on you ain't necessarily your enemy. Most of the times they don't even realize you're there, but they done cross you somehow. They don't even realize that they've done it to you because you're not their focus. They're focused on what they're doing. Second part of that, everybody that pulls you out of some shit ain't your friend. That cat pulled them out. The jokers will step right in. They don't let me help you out here. But they always want something on the back end. They be waiting in the winds to pop up and get you. Hey, remember I did this for you. Remember I did that for you. They ain't necessarily your friend. They try to hold those strings over you. The
And what I think,
third part of that, hold on. If you are comfortable being in some shit, don't broadcast it to everybody. Keep it to yourself.
but that's what I think. I think if you're not in that position, you can't understand it. I think from an
Mm-hmm.
outside perspective, looking at it, it's never gonna make sense to you. Again, I'm not gonna publicly expose anyone for anything. But that's because of my own peace walk. That's my own
Mm-hmm.
level of peace and the things that I've learned about how to maintain my own peace. That's why I wouldn't. But for people who have not reached that level of peace and their own, I'm very clear on who I am, what I stand
Mm-hmm.
for, the things that I value, and how I'm going to perpetrate that. But before I got to that place, and had I been experiencing this actualization of these dynamics, I might not have been able to sustain without these tools. And what I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing, what from someone who's in it, what I see is individuals who don't necessarily have all the tools to equip themselves yet. And it's a cry for, I want to be good. I want on my own. Like, I do not yet know how to do that. And the story about those who shit on you and those who pull you out the shit, what we're telling our parents, no, they don't realize it. And we're just trying to say, look,
Mm-hmm.
you don't even realize you're doing both. You're both shitting on
Mm-hmm.
me and pulling me out of it, and then turning around and doing it again, and then saying, what? Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
your mom, I'm your dad, that's your
Mm-hmm.
sister. Let it go. Like that excuse, like that position, that rank, or that position just should automatically give people rank in your life. And it's like, no, I love my sisters. I love my parents. I do want to be in a relationship with them, just not in that way. And so it's really, and right now I understand you may not get that, and you have to function in a way that's going to preserve you. I get that, but that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make it easy to digest and to grow from. And what I
No.
see is a lot of people, they're struggling in that growth process. They want to move from that hurt. They want to move
Mm-hmm.
from it, and they just don't know how, especially without the people. Your parents give you life. So I mean, we look at all these dynamics, and you can judge someone else's parenting. You could say like they're not a good parent, but for any child, like that's their parent.
Mm-hmm.
They love their parent. They want to be in
Mm-hmm.
relation with their parent. For most of us, some people get fed up
Understand
and they're
this.
like, I'm done, I'm done.
Understand this.
But
No
I
matter
don't want to get
how,
to that point.
right, but no matter how old you get, your parents are going to always see you as their child. And they're going to regard you as such. Yeah, they'll acknowledge you become an adult, but the dynamics under which their world functions and works for them is how they're going to live their life. That's why they've given you your 18 years to then go become who you're going to be. At that point, you insert yourself when there's necessity to insert yourself. Beyond that, you are the adults. You go and do your adulting. Yes, you see those dynamics and they aren't working. Call those dynamics out, but call those dynamics out in a manner in which is appropriate. Okay. Now talking about the hurts and as far as like I'm not talking about those little dirty little family secrets, the things that get swept so under the rug, so egregious, those huge harmful things. No, those little tiny things that nitpick at you. You an adult now. Call that stuff. Call it out. Call that shit out. Because you're an adult. And when you start having your children, you make sure those things aren't there. I see it so many times, man.
But
I will
you said
never
like the little
raise my
nitpicky stuff.
kid. I will never raise my kids the way I was raised because I recognize that here's some things that were harmful for me coming up, and I'm seeing it now as an adult. I don't want my kids to have to go through that. So I'm going to be instilling a whole other set of values and everything and upbringing in mine. But you have to create your own to fix what you perceived as a problem, but also understand you are operating under what works for you in this given time.
I think it's
There's
easier for
no
someone like
manual.
you to say. I think it's
There's
I've
no
been operating.
manual.
Yes, and it's not that I disagree, but I think it's easier for someone like you to accept that reality. I am a very, you know me, I'm very logical. I'm very much steeped in reality. That's how I function. Things are what they are. And I don't try to disillusion myself to them. The acceptance of that, I have to accept it because I live in reality. But it's
Mm-hmm.
not like, I don't think you understand when you've grown up in that dynamic and when you didn't see what was wrong with it, what was bad about it for so long. I'm 36, and to see how, and even if before, I can't say that I didn't see what was wrong and bad about my family dynamics beforehand. But when you become so fully immersed and then a target of it, and then how your regarded switches, like it's that actualization and that acceptance of it. I can't articulate it. It's not easy. It's not something that,
No, I believe it or not, I'm in it. It's how you deal with it. I'm in it. I'm in it, just like you are. But it's how you deal with it. And because we are different people, we deal with it differently.
well, yes, absolutely. But I think
But
I deal
that's
with
why
it.
we talk. But that's
Yeah,
why
and
we
I think I
talk
deal
and
with it
we
well
communicate
because
with
I do
people.
have that personal self growth. But
Hmm.
on the back end, internally, spirit wise, it still doesn't feel good. It
No,
still doesn't feel good.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. Nope. And I'll never say it does. It does not feel good. It doesn't. I'm right there with you. There has been nothing you have said this entire time that I have not understood, that I couldn't empathize or even sympathize with. I'm right there with you in every regard.
Yeah. I love
The difference,
and even
the
talking
difference
about it,
between
like
you and I, yeah,
we're
the difference
very,
is how we handle it.
and we're very careful, and I'm very protective. And that's
Hmm.
another reason why I wouldn't expose anyone on my family, because being flawed doesn't make them bad people, but they don't understand how not addressing it. I just want them
Yeah.
to bask in the light because you're miserable. And then you're trying to spread that misery to me. And I just can't.
But that's them. That's them. The thing is, like you say, I'm not taking that on. That's all you. That's them. That's for agreement.
But you care because no, like we don't, you and I, we
Yeah.
don't have children. But if I saw my child, so I would like, it wouldn't feel good. I would try everything
You're
in my
not
power to fix them.
okay now, as an adult, because when you were a child and all your siblings were kids, when y'all were all kids, your parents ain't had time for that. There was
No,
so much
absolutely not.
going on. There was
Yeah.
so much going on.
Yeah.
There's too much going on.
And let's be clear, I think my mom takes it a lot harder because let's be clear, my dad, I think he was a good dad and he was involved somewhat, but my dad spent 17 years in prison. So I also think my mom she gets way more offended at the criticism
Mhm.
because it's like, and we saw it like as much as I sacrificed, I
Yeah.
gave my entire life for you people, and you have the nerve
Mhm.
to sit back and criticize the job that I did. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. Because it was her.
yeah.
She had to
And she
carry
made
that
it
load.
happen. And
She had
she
to
didn't make
carry
us
that
feel like
load.
we lacked. No, she didn't. No.
All right.
So I understand that.
That's now, that's the job of the parent.
Yes, and
It
she
ain't
did that.
about you no more. It ain't about you no more. It's about them. It's about those kids. It's about that future.
Yeah.
The problem we run into, the dynamic I'm seeing now, it's too many people who have kids who it's still all about them. Now that's a whole new level of dysfunction that's happening.
Well, I
And
think that leads perfectly into like, and we've been talking about a little bit because we like to talk about solutions. And that's part of that solution is you can't change anyone else. You can't,
no,
even through love and
you
conversation and trying to reach understanding, you can't change someone else.
no, you deal with them where they are. You
Yes.
take them where they are, you deal with them where they are in that moment. Where do you make the changes and the fixes and all that? You do that in your personal family dynamic. So when I'm sitting at your wedding, or I'm coming to the baby showers for you, or I'm doing X, Y, and Z for you, then we're talking about here's that family dynamic. Here's where you implement your adjustments based on what you felt and also understand. That's where you're gonna gain a whole new level of understanding. I say, now I get what was happening with my parents and
Yep.
why I was in that spot.
Yep.
We are all operating on a very self-centered, self-actualizing, selfish plane. And we're going to do what's good for us in every moment. Yeah, we're gonna think about some moments ahead, but guess what we're doing? We're doing what's gonna be best for us in that moment. When you start bringing kids into the dynamic, it changes. It should change. It should be, let me set it up so my kids are better, are in a position where they're good. I can't
And I
address. I
think that's
can't
part of
address
my
everything.
craft. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't address everything. Some stuff y'all gotta work out on by yourselves.
Yeah. I
Now,
think
yeah,
that's where
parents
my
have done that.
drive comes from because I
Let me
can
find a
operate,
little
I can heal.
knucklehead kid. Let me have three kids and the young one's a knucklehead. Like, hell no, you better knock that young head off. You better put
Well,
that
I don't have
young.
children, but I have six nieces and nephews, and they range from 6 years old to 16 years old. And so I think that's really where why I can't fully let it go, um, and grow in myself because
Look,
they're not my
after
children, but I feel some type of pull to ensure that they're better off than
man,
what
look,
we are.
I look at parents like this, especially if you got more than 3 and 4 kids. Like at that point, when the time you get to that last one, you just tired. Like, man, for real, we good with these right here. Let that little one fall away, man. If that one make it or don't make it, it's all right. Because that younger one is always going to be fighting for the scraps and trying to fight their way up the ladder. And that's the thing. The youngest is always trying to fight their way up the ladder, especially the more you have.
I think,
And
look,
that's going to
they getting
inform a
tired.
lot of
I don't
that
think it was a
personality.
fight up the ladder. I think my mom was like, in the beginning, she was like,
No,
no.
but no. That's the kid. That's what the kid's doing. But
Oh,
the parents like, oh hell no, I'm tired, man. Shoot, I done did these 1, 2, 3. I'm good. 4, 5, 6. No, bro, I'm tired.
no, but that, I think my mom, yeah, it was stricter. It was like, and I think it
Especially
made me more
yes,
responsible. And now I look at them like,
exactly.
and even the
hmm
grandkids, I'm like, I would never.
Because
I could never.
you because you get older and you get tired.
And I do
You
realize
get
that. I do
tired.
realize, I think part of the solution is yes, in growing in yourself, you have to realize you can't change someone even through love. I
Nope.
think you have to have way more
5
empathy.
minutes.
Okay. Because if you are thinking about and you're asking, you're essentially you're asking other people to have some empathy for your
Mm-hmm.
hurts and your traumas, have that grace for your parents. Your
Mm-hmm.
parents are carrying a lot more. You don't know their background. A lot of us don't know how our parents grew up and
No.
the different things that they went through and what happened to them as
And they don't
kids.
tell you. And worse, it's stuff that they'll go through while they're raising you and will not tell you because they do not want you to see them broken.
Yep. And they're
But
broken
when you
people
get
and you don't know
but
it.
when you get
So you
so
can, like,
child,
you're a
you
broken
have
person
all
trying
the
to heal.
answers. You have all the answers right now to sort yourself out and how you feel. You don't need external validations from social media, going online, all that nonsense. You don't need that.
And it's not easy. And it's not a short
No, it
process. It's not
absolutely
easy.
not easy. It's not easy. But the minute we stop looking for the microwave result and do the work, then we'll start feeling better about where we are. And sometimes the work really means, let me just pick up my shovel and go on over here. So I can start digging my own land and digging my own stuff up and doing what
It
I need
sounds
to
like
do
you're talking
to
about
build
true
my own
acceptance.
foundation. It is acceptance.
True
I can't.
acceptance.
Yes, I'm not changing. Who am I going to raise? I'm not raising no adults. Are you kidding me?
You can't raise your mama and
I'm
daddy.
gonna, I'm gonna check them when they. I will check them when they
That's the
wrong in that
problem. We trying
moment.
to
Be
raise
like,
them now. Maybe that's the problem. You can't raise them.
no, you gotta accept them where they are and be like, all right, let me start making adjustments around what you're doing. So life will be a little easier for you and a lot less stressful for me. But one thing I'm gonna tell you now, I do not let you mess with my peace. All right. My peace
That's
is the
it.
first thing I protect above all other things. Mine. And that's selfish as hell, but mine will come first.
Oh, I
Because if
thought
you're
of your
not a
word
source
for
of
the
my
year.
peace, you become a problem. And I eliminate problems. Told you I'm a problem solver. I don't play
But
that.
your word of the year, discipline. Hold your
Discipline.
boundaries. Hold your
Discipline.
boundaries. Hold
Exactly.
your
Discipline.
boundaries.
Discipline. It informs, is the foundation of everything you're going to do. Every success or failure you have starts with your discipline. And trust and believe your success and your failure, if you are disciplined to do the right, to be successful, then you're going to be successful. But if you disciplined to not, because that's discipline too. To be lazy, it's discipline to be lazy and apathetic and all that. Nah, man, I ain't got time for that. This stuff we want to accomplish. It takes discipline. And then you got to act on that discipline. And you got to
I
remind
agree.
yourself. You got to remind yourself when things come up to be like, hey, nah, discipline. That's out the window. But yeah, so there it is.
And Black people
Anyway,
go to therapy. It's okay.
man, don't go to therapy. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. Find a good friend who is like
I
minded, but
see. I didn't say
find a lot.
traditional therapy. There are lots of forms of therapy, and stop. Black people go to
Man,
therapy.
y'all better go sit in a dark room and meditate or something. I'm just playing with you. Do
You
what you
know
got
what?
to do. No, for real. Do what you got to do because talking to people doesn't always help everybody else. You got to figure out
No,
what works for you. Figure out what works for you and helps you move forward. So you're at peace. Find your peace. That's the biggest thing. Find your peace. And throughout whatever means, but don't make yourself into a victim to find your peace because you're not gonna find peace. You're gonna constantly be blaming. You gotta start with you first. And where did you go wrong? Whether it's you address something or didn't address it. And once you address it, once it's out, you feel that weight, then you go ahead and stop putting that victim weight on you. Take that cape off and you start being who you need to be. That's going to be the better version of you. But remember, you come first. You come first
is it
until you have
selfish?
kids. Until you
Absolutely.
have kids. Until you have kids. And then they come first until they're 18. And then you come first again. All right, so. If they want to come back with grievances, you just look at them cross-eyed like, word.
I'm not. When I have kids, no. I'm not
Anyway,
neglecting myself. Mm-mm.
yeah, well, go ahead. Anyway, all right, that's a good show. We're gonna wrap it up on that. Appreciate you, love.
Always, always.
All right.